Hello, colleagues. Today we continue our series of webinar dedicated to digitalization, business process automation, and documents automation. And our today's webinar in particular, we dedicate to digital assistance, its place in accounting. And we'll discuss how these routine processes in accounting can be digitalized. And we discuss such documents like invoices, tax bills, wage bills, and other financial documents. And our today's webinar will take about 40 minutes, and also we have time for answering your question in the end of the webinar. But also, please don't shy to write them down in the chat. And a couple of words about your today's hosts. My name is Konstantin. I work as a head of business development, and today with me my colleague Eugenia. She's our senior solution consultant. And we both work at Directum company. And a couple of words about Directum. Directum is one of the leaders in the field of enterprise software. We concentrate mostly on content, business processes, and document management. We help our customers to automate a wide range of their processes, from accounts payable to invoice processing, from contracts management to HR processes, or quality management and compliance management. And we also were experienced in implementation of enterprise information systems and in business analysis, business consulting, because it helps us to deliver the best experience to our customers. And our main product, it's called Directum RX. It's a system which allows to encompass all the processes within the company. And basically, we help our customers to increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of their businesses, to reduce their costs and routine time for operations. But now, and also this slide, of course, you can see some of our customers who already successfully implemented and use our solutions for different processes. And now let's turn to the keynote of our today's webinar, digital assistance. And Eugenia, please, could you tell us why do we need this digital assistance, where we can apply them, and what for?
Yes, hello everyone. And just to start with, I'm glad to tell you that I have two news for you, the bad one and the good one, as it usually happens. The bad one is that you'll remember only 20% of the information that we'll give you today. But please don't worry, everything is okay, because we have a good one that we are always ready to answer all your questions via chat, via email, it doesn't matter. And we are always ready to give you some consultants about your business processes. We'll share our contacts in the end of the webinar. And if you have some questions during our speech, please don't hesitate to write it in the chat, and we'll answer and discuss all of them in the end of our meeting. And going straight to the point about digital assistants. When we say these words, we mean some AI tools or just some solutions, including artificial intelligence, that remove some routine things, some routine tasks from ordinary employees, and let employees to do some creative tasks, just to think and not to fight with couples of documents. In general, why do we need digital assistants? Of course, there are plenty of reasons, and for every company, for every employee, these reasons can vary, but still, here we have tried to choose the most popular, the most widespread among our clients and in general, among the world. First of all, it is about dealing with a huge amount of paper documents. You know, it is, for me, it is quite incredible that still, nevertheless, that there is a increasing rate of digitalization of business processes and decreasing rate of pulp and paper industry. Still, most of the documents, mainly official documents, are operated in paper and signed in paper. And weirdest of all, we have to import all these documents in the format of scan into our informational systems. And here is another main problem, that usually there is no single window to complete all the tasks. On average, there are 5 different systems in every company. I mean, mail, messenger, some office suite, like for example, Microsoft Office, and then HRM, CRM, ECM, different combinations depending on the company. But still, for every employee, it is always quite difficult to switch between these systems and even to repeat some operations or duplicate some operations in different systems. Of course, this doesn't help to earn us money and doesn't help to speed up our business processes. And another thing that goes along with these processes is that usually there is no end-to-end data flow between systems. There are different reasons for these. Sometimes it is due to some security things. Sometimes there is just no technical possibility for some of the systems to make such integration, or probably it was just a decision of top management or business analysts that we don't need such integration. But still, these things doesn't help us to increase our effectiveness and doesn't help us to bring more money to our business. And last but not least, I have to mention here about user experience and user interface. It is really important nowadays, mostly in the world of IT, because if our manager or our employee every day comes to work and see this obsolete interface, he just doesn't want to do his routine tasks, or probably he couldn't do some routine tasks easily. For example, to find a document, to create a document, and all these things.
And in our opinion, the most routine area in the company is accounting department. You can tell us that there are lots of different departments where also a lot of routine, but accounting department is the most risky area because of the penalties or fines which may affect the whole company. Gina, let's proceed.
Yes, talking about digital assistants, well, if we are today here to talk about things, now we'd like to discuss, probably to assume, what is digital assistants in accounting? What for do we need them? Well, if you're an accountant or just dealing with accounting documents from day to day, probably you know all these things that you see on the slide as pain points, as headaches, and all these frustrating things. So now we'd like to know your opinion. Just in a few seconds, there will be a survey on your screen, and we'd like to ask to take part in these things. Probably you have some other things that are really frustrating for you. Please feel free to write them in the chat. We'll be really glad to discuss. For example, for me, if I were an accountant, I would say that matching invoices is the most disaster, because I've seen invoices with hundreds of lines, and doing it manually, it's awful. And what do you think?
I'm more closely aware about long-term payment approval with approval process, and it's really annoying. It's really annoying when your documents are approved a long time. So I would choose the third option in this variant.
But it's curious to know what we have for today, because here is the result. Yeah, what do you think?
Actually, it's pretty surprising. I was expected the second one, but manual processing of financial documents are our favorite. But in general, I think that all these processes can be sequential. One can follow after another, and they can create the biggest process.
And probably it is about manual processing, just because most of the employees work with these manual things. Yeah. When you get thousands of documents per day, all employees suffer from that.
Yeah, and even in this screen we can see that the first process also the biggest one,
yeah,
slide maybe
like a diagram,
yeah,
so to say.
And we also conducted our own survey among our customers on our implementation projects, on the market in general. And we outlined for ourselves two main factors for measuring these processes. It's a number of operations per month, per period, and the time that's consumed for every operation. Of course, we concluded that these three processes are the most routine in the accounting departments. And every of these processes contains, let's say, micro operations from 5 to 10 minutes on average. And 5 minutes itself doesn't seem like a considerable time, but if we multiply this time for a number of operations per period, we will see how much time we spent on the routine, on the monotonous work. And today we decided to concentrate on the third process, receiving inventory from suppliers, invoice processing, and how it can be digitalized, how intelligent tools can help companies to decrease routine and costs for unnecessary and redundant steps. But before we dive into digital assistance, into intelligent tools, let's take a look what's on the solution market, what we already have for the automation for digitalization. And the first option that we can see on the market. It's OCR solutions, optical character recognition solutions. So basically, it captures a text layer of a document. Afterwards, this data can be displayed in PDF or Word document. And later on, our employee can copy this information from PDF, Word, to any information or accounting system. So to me, this is not a complete automation because you only automate on the first step, but later on you still have to process with manual work. The second option is cloud services for digitalization. You send a set of the documents for processing to external services, to external cloud services for processing. And as an outcome, you receive a metadata for inserting to ERP system. This is not a bad option, especially for the small companies, but here you may face two issues. The first one is the speed of the process, because since you sending it to external services, of course, it takes considerable bigger time for processing, from 15 to 30 minutes. And the second issue is issue with security, because once again, you send it to external services, and the services can't provide you with confidentiality. And especially if you care about it, of course, your documents are processed with external operators, external services. You can work with compliance. Simplified interfaces helps you to start working with information system, with processing, but basically it's just a simplified interface with less number of fields, less number of lines for inserting data, but you still have to work manually. Very popular solution nowadays, it's RPA, robotic process automation. It helps you to transmit the data from one interface to another. There also can be issues with the speed of the process, because you don't speed up the process, you just replace an employee operator with a robot, but it still has to be done. In most times it can be displayed visually, so there is no AI. And also ERP systems are evolving. Vendors tries to simplify their interfaces to make processing easier, but ERP systems initially weren't intended to process documents. So basically there is still manual work. And we can see also, besides solutions, we can see needs from the real users, from the real accountants, employees. Eugenia, please tell us about it.
Yes, and before commenting about needs, I would like just to express my opinion that it is pretty good and excellent that nowadays we have such a wide range of solutions on the market. We have something to choose from. And colleagues, it will be really interesting to know if you have some experience with using this or that tool. Please write us also in the chat, we'll discuss, and it will be interesting to know your opinion, because you know, the choice, there is no right answer, I would say, because the choice is also about studying the business processes, studying the company itself. But yes, in the end, all these things should lead to getting some business effect and to earning more money as a company. And first need that mainly accountant and financial departments have is to reduce cycle time of business processes, because you know time is the most valuable source nowadays, and it is crucially important to make this process of receiving the inventory, receiving some goods and putting them into operation, into process the most quickly as we can.
In production.
Yeah, in production, I would like to say, so that to start this process and to start earning money. And the process that goes along with this, and the thing that I'm really bothered about, is to eliminate paper. It is due to different reasons, like sustainability, some ecological things, and I suppose that our whole mission as a world, we should to work with scans of the documents from the first step of the business process, or even refuse from paper and work with metadata, like with electronic invoices and so on. Because, you know, among our clients and some companies that we communicated with, still exist those that bring this paper from one cost center to another, from one office to another. These cases are rare, but still they exist. And I suppose that even exchanging these documents via email is not so innovative nowadays in our 2021. And as a result and conclusion, all these two things should lead to building transparent processes and to let all the stages be controllable and trackable. Of course, these control and tracking we can do with some ERP systems, probably with some financial or accounting systems, and it can be applicable by business analysts or some financial top managers. But still, if we are talking about transparent processes and controlling by all the managers, all the employees, most of them used to work with not with numbers, but with documents, with some pretty interfaces. And for them, some kind of ECM systems or CSP systems are more applicable and more usable. Well, and having studied all these things like marketing possibilities and all the accounting needs, we started thinking what we as a vendor can bring to the world. How can our expertise be applicable, and what can we do? What can we suggest? But before diving into the solution itself, we'd like to dive into the process. And today we are to talk about the process of incoming invoices for inventory supply. Konstantin, could you please share with us our results?
Yes, we try to estimate the expenses for this process. You can read it on our slide, but I think from company to company, of course, the details can vary, but in general, all the companies have similar key points in their processing, the similar steps. So if you take average number of supplies, and if you multiply it for average specialist hourly rate, we can see how much money it costs to the company. So in my opinion, this is a really considerable amount of money. Plus, we've taken just like the minimum of the supplies and hourly rate. Of course, especially for the top management and for the accounting department, there are lots of points that needed to be considered, I would say even reconsidered, in order to obtain benefits, reduce costs, and optimize the process. So how can we receive these benefits? How can we obtain the effect from using AI solutions or intelligence tools? So in our opinion, the usage of intelligence tools can help. And first of all, we can use the basic capabilities of intelligence, like data capturing, data extracting, document classification, or requisites extracting and classification and following processing. Also transferring data to ERP system and creating new documents in ERP system. The second step, it's automatic items matching. Not all the companies use EDI solutions for it. And here we can say that, for example, if you receive incoming documents, invoices with lots of lines, with lots of items, with I would say, special namings. So this naming can be different from information in your accounting system and your ERP system. And the usage of intelligent tools such as a fuzzy search can help you to match these positions, to check these positions more faster and quicker.
And as for defining cost center and cost account, this operation is pretty widespread among our customers and, as far as I know, among the companies in the whole world. What we have here, some systems allow to do it manually, of course, and some of them have some simple automation, like, for example, they have some connection between the name of the customer with the special cost centers. And if we add artificial intelligence into this process, we can train it on some historical data, and it will recognize the sense of the invoice itself. For example, if we receive some invoice for software licenses, I would say, it will understand that it should be connected and it should be sent with cost center for IT department and for their cost account. Some simple things, but still, if we receive hundreds of similar invoices per day, it may help. Yeah. And it may have a money effect. And the same thing with verifying counterparties data and company data. You know, the same situation. If we have several contracts per day, we can do it manually, just looking for some information into our database or using some open official web sources. But still, if we have plenty of them and most of them are unknown customers for us, it's better doing such things with artificial intelligence. So it will check the liability of our customer, and then will give us as an employees just a quick analysis if we should contact this customer and say that, guy, there is something wrong with you, I see, or just everything is okay, we can sign the contract and pay him money.
So basically it's a due diligence.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, and we try to analyze how this process can be look like with incorporated intelligent tools, intelligent services. And we concluded that you can receive a set of the document by different channels. You can receive it by email, in paper, or with the usage of electronic document exchange services in XML format. Anyway, the AI, the intelligent tools, can capture these documents, recognize it, extract facts, classify these documents. Afterwards, it can be transferred to the verification station. It can be our system, for example, where a responsible employee, a verificator, has to check the correctness of extracted data. Of course, this stage also can be skipped when you trust the percentage of recognition. For example, if it's above 90%. Mm-hmm. After our verificator performs his task, this data is transferred to ERP system for the next stage. Our storekeeper, a warehouse employee, has to complete the capitalization. He doesn't have to work in the Directum's interface. He can work in the ERP interface. So he or she, they make their necessary operations. They receive goods, items, make necessary steps in the ERP. And the next stage, our accountant can make necessary transactions, form transactions or assign cost centers. Also, she or he doesn't have to work within the Directum's interface. And after all the transactions are done, all these sets of documents can be stored into financial archive. Actually, financial archive deserves a separate webinar because this is a really interesting topic. But in general, financial archive is a single complete archive for storing all the financial documents, where we can easily search documents or prepare them for internal, external audits. But we discussed a lot of theory today. But what do we have concerning the practice?
Yes, as for the practice and particular practice with artificial intelligence for accounting processes, we made such project for our customer L'Oreal. I'm sure you know them. And here our main tasks was connected with automatic completion of accounting documents like invoices, bills, receipts, and some else. What we did basically, we trained AI solution so that it could extract facts from document scans, like, for example, counterparty data, some information about the sums, the totals, the total amount, I mean, then some information about purchase orders connected with this invoice. Then all this information is automatically put into the system, into the document cards, and then automatically the task is sent to the responsible employee that needs to verify if everything was extracted correctly, and then to take decisions. simple decision to pay or not to pay. And here I would like to pay your attention to the accuracy of the extracting. Well, for invoices and bills that we call, so to say, creative documents, I mean that there is no structure, unified structure for them. And these documents can vary from one customer to another. So for such documents, we reached up to 82% of accuracy. And if we are talking about structured documents like receipts in this project, here we reached 92%. And it means that the more structured the document is, the less time we need for our AI to train and to begin doing all the things on his own without people interference. And of course, all these things we did to gain more money and to gain some business effect. And here, L'Oreal speeded up the accounting documents processing and decreased labor input for incoming processing. So in simple words, they just let their accountants, their managers to work with signing new contracts, talking with their customers, and not to fight with piles of documents. Another project that we also did was a pilot one, and we did it for Tele2. It is a European telecommunications operator. And here we dealt with mass import of accounting documents in the beginning of the project. And then to effect extraction by our AI, we added document classification. So here our intelligence, not our, but still our maiden intelligence, helped us to check what is the type of this document. So whether it is invoice or acts of acceptance of services or something else. And here, what is the most important? What was the most important for us? That after AI processing, 68% of documents didn't need a person to check what he did. Not he. He's not alive, what AI did. So the task was directly sent to the employee, to the manager, and he just decided to pay or not to pay, just as usual. Well, and these were our facts. And now we would like to show you how it looks like in our system. So here is our live case and our live demo.
And today we consider a case where we have to process incoming invoice, and then we have to match these items with the information in our ERP, in our purchase order. Of course, we do it with the usage of intelligent services. We can receive invoices in different ways. For example, we can receive it by using email. So now I imitate the work of the email. So I'll send this invoice to a dedicated inbox, to the dedicated email. And also we can receive invoices in paper. So in this case, we have to scan this invoice and then work with the scanned copy. So I also imitate the work of a scanner. Now put this document into a scanner. After we scan document, this document will be transferred to a dedicated hot folder. In our case, we call it a hot folder, from which our intelligence services will capture document, extract facts, classify this document, this invoice, and recognize all the requisites. So let's open our systems interface. So let's refresh this page. Yes, and here we can see that our AI, our intelligence services, already processed these invoices. And in our case, our responsible employee, the verificator, he has to check the correctness of the extracted facts. He also see this information of his next steps. So he has to verify our invoice, and also he has to check a good step in order to compare the items from invoice with the items that we have in our accounting system. So let's open our invoice card first. And at this card, we can see that document was classified correctly. This is really an incoming invoice. Another information such as document number and document date also were captured from our invoice. It also was automatically connected with the contract and the relevant purchase order. And other information about counterparty, about our business unit, and about the total amount and taxes also were captured and recognized correctly. This yellow color means that this information was recognized with percentage over 90. Of course, this is a configurable parameter, configurable setting. So for example, if this information will be recognized with the percentage lower, under 90, it can be highlighted in yellow or even in red color. And now let's take a look at the good step where our verificator, a responsible employee, has to match the items from the invoice with the items in our ERP system, in our purchase orders. Of course, this matching can be done automatically by using intelligent services of fuzzy search, or we can match the appropriate item manually. The information in red color means that we have to pay attention to these differences and also correct all the mistakes, verify this invoice. Also, here we have a mathematical calculation. For example, if we select another item, we receive a warning that the price doesn't match the price of the order. So in that case, we have to select the appropriate position. And our verificator also can choose a storage where our items, our goods has to be stored. So basically on this stage, we have to verify the correctness of extracted and recognized information. So let's imagine that we checked and we verify this information, and we have to perform our task. And now all the data are being transferred to the ERP system, where our responsible employee of the warehouse, our storekeeper, has to complete the capitalization of goods and materials. So he or she also sees a hint. They have to go to the accounting system and generate a receipt for the incoming inventory in accordance with the attached sets of documents. In our case, we have only one document, but of course, when you receive real goods, real items, it's usually sets of the documents. This task can be done automatically after our storekeeper complete all the necessary steps in the ERP system interface. So let's open his task, but in our case, let's imagine that we make all the necessary steps in the ERP interface and complete our task here. So our task also done now. And now our next participant, this is accountant. She also receives her task. She has to form necessary transactions in the ERP interface. So for example, she can assign cost centers or cost accounts, or she can do it manually or do it automatically, once again with the usage of our intelligent services. So she performs her part of the job, and she also complete this task. And later on, all the invoices, all the financial documents, but in our case, of course, invoices, can be stored in this register, in this data book, where we can easily filter them by different parameters, where we can easily find them. For example, you can prepare this invoices for tax or audits. You can export it by one copy, or you can choose all the invoices and export them all. And that way you can easily prepare this information for the audits, internal or external. And also let's briefly consider another case, a case of approval of incoming invoice. We can also receive invoices by email or in paper, it doesn't matter. We can capture it, transfer it into our system, and then our initiator has to send this invoice for approval. In our case, we use rule-based approval. So let's send this invoice. And at this card, we can see that the approval rule was selected automatically, depending on the different parameters. We can see required approvers. Also, we can add additional approvers.
we can see our signatory, we can change him. In the copy, we can add observers, those employees who they don't have to do anything with this invoice, but they just will be posted. They will be informed that this invoice in the processing right now. At the stages step, we can see all the necessary stages. In our case, this route looks like it, but of course, this also a configurable parameter. We can adapt our system under your requirements. Every stage has its own deadline, and in the end of our rule, our accountant receives a task to pay this invoice, and our initiator, in our case this is a purchasing agent, receives notification that the invoice was paid. So let's send this invoice for approval. I'll go into outgoing tasks and open a task on behalf of our first approver. So in general, our first approver receives a task where he can see enclosed documents. You can see that the contract also was enclosed here automatically because these two documents are relevant to each other, they are related. And basically our approver sees a short overview, and he can either approve this invoice or send for rework or ask for a deadline extension if he thinks that he can overdue this approval process. You can also add additional approvers or change signatory, or approve this invoice, add some comment, and send it to the next stage. And you can always control where you invoice where your invoice right now, because the actual stage is highlighted in this yellow color. So in general, all the steps looks pretty similar. So I will not go through them completely. And in the end of our demonstration, I also would like to pay attention to our financial archive, which we mentioned before in our presentation. So basically this module is where we can store, manage, and search for financial documents. You have convenient tools for controlling integrity of this financial archive. So basically here we can store all the financial documents. You can prepare them for different external or internal auditions.
Well, it was it. I would say it was our live demo case. And to be quite honest, this is all the things that we'd like to share with you today as a must, I would say. And for now, I would just like to mention you that we as a vendor are always ready to talk with you, to discuss your individual business processes, and to see what things might or should be improved in your business processes to make things better and to make your employees happier, I would say. You know, we as a vendor, when we start working with some customer, first step that we do, we start with analyzing what the processes today. So to say, we paint the picture as is. So we try to assume what things are now, and then we try to make a wonderful and magic picture how it is to be. I'm sure that you are pretty familiar with these things, but still, we suppose that these things are pretty important. And after that, we try to think how our platform or probably some other solutions of other vendors can be applicable for your processes. Probably you should take our platform with some integration with ERP system, for example, to make your processes flow. It is just a matter of time, of effort, but in general, what we want to reach is to increase the effectiveness of your business.
I agree with you.
That's perfect. So it's time to turn into our questions. Open the chat. The first question that we have, it was sent only for us, so I will read it aloud. Could you please provide more details about financial archive? From Dietrich. Dietrich, thank you so much for your question. Once again, talking about financial archive, it is our special model of our platform. We created it as a ready-to-use process just because we had significant amount of such requests from our customers. And this module allows to store all the financial archive in one place, to make some useful registers with different filters and criteria in order to, first of all, to make a unique storage, and then to quickly export all the necessary documents into some local folders. For example, you can do it either in PDF format or with files of electronic and digital signatures. What for? I don't know, just for some internal audits, when there are some audits from governmental administrations, or you just need to send these documents as a folder, I don't know, to your customer, to some of your partners, so on. So in simple words, it's just a single storage with digital signatures, easily to export and just to gain your historical data, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I see the question from our participants, where is the ERP functions here? So there is no ERP functions actually in our showcase, but we say that yes, we didn't show you the ERP interface, but we imply that this verification station, our system, can be integrated with the ERP functions. So we didn't show it, but on the real case, of course, this data can be automatically transferred to the ERP. Orders can be formed into ERP, documents can be formed into ERP. So in our system, of course, there is no ERP functionality. This is another class of the system.
Mm-hmm. And there is additional comment from Alexandra. So you export from the archive to the ERP. Alexandra, you know, this scenario, yes, it exists, but in fact, what we have as an integration, we have a two-side integration between our platform and ERP. So first of all, when we receive some document from our customer, we may register it into ERP and then import into our system, for example, to approve it with other participants, to get a digital signature. And then in the end of this process of negotiating, we export it to the ERP to make payment, for example. And as ERP interfaces usually are not so useful, are not so comfortable, I would say, to store the body of the documents, we suggest our platform as a unique storage of bodies of the documents in PDF formats, for example, with digital signatures.
Scan copies are the most important things.
Yes.
If you store scan copies, you can control the integrity of the archive, because by using convenient tools, you can see what documents are missed, or even where our paper document right now. So we can control what employee has taken this document, or if we send it in paper to our counterpart, we can also control and check it.
Mm-hmm. And also, as an addition, usually ERP systems, as they are the systems that work with numbers, with some statistics.
Records mostly.
Just records. And for example, if we need a list of our invoices for the past year, from ERP system, we can download just like a register of all the invoices. But if we need some bodies of the documents, I mean scans or PDF with digital signatures, for example, there are some CSP solutions or ECM solutions are more applicable.
Content service platform for
our
guests.
Alexander, please let us know if we have answered your questions, so probably you have some additional ones. And we just that we have one more question about another team, another topic, white team. How do you train AI tool? We received this question from Marina. Well, how do we train it? First of all, we need a pile of documents. We need
examples.
Some examples of documents. The more documents we have, the better. For example, if we like to make some fact extraction from invoices, we need at least, I would say, 400 or 500 of such invoices. We put it into the folder, and then we
400 or 500 of every kind.
Yeah, of every kind of
Yes.
invoices. For example, invoices for this, for that, and something like that. Then we have special scenarios of our AI tool, and we just tell to our AI that, look, there is a folder, please train these documents. And we need some time to do this. Usually it is made only by IT specialists, so with no involvement of employees, ordinary employees. And then after that, artificial intelligence is ready to work with these incoming invoices.
But I would add here that some of our customers can also, they train our AI with their employees, or they hire just like students for these operations to proceed to process these examples.
Yes, these things we need, for example, when there are some unstructured documents, creative ones, as we told today, where we need to just place and to make a layout of this document. For example, if AI, if you want to find a data in this or find a date, it is here. Stamp, it is there, something like that. So it is about first things that we need to do, and after that, when we train it first, then our AI train itself on the incoming documents that you import into the system from day to day. Alexander, thank you for your feedback. Pretty clear. There are no more questions that we haven't answered. I would suggest to wait just for probably 1 minute if you are still typing us the question. We'll be glad to answer. And what else? Probably, yes, the usual question that we usually have. Probably have some ideas what you would like to know more, because we make some kind of series of webinars about different themes. We already talked about contracts, HR. Today is about accounting. If you have some ideas what you'd like to know about, please write us here.
Or maybe we have other processes with the routine operations, which also needed, you need to automate, or you feel like you have to automate it. You can also consider these cases and elaborate a solution, a method to do it.
Well, there are no more questions. Probably, I suppose we should finish for today. Thank you so much, dear colleagues, for being with us today. Thank you for your questions. It was really interesting to discuss and examine what you are thinking about. What are your current challenges?
Yes, and we are always open to answer your questions. Please contact us directly, and we'll try to communicate to also directly after this webinar. So thank you.
Alexander, about presentation of this webinar, yes, sure, we'll send it along with the link to the recording of this webinar. We'll do it in a few days. And of course, if you haven't received, in case, our materials, please don't hesitate to write us. Thank you so much, and have a nice working day for today, and perfect summer.
Yeah.
Oh, spring. First spring, then summer.
Summer too. Okay.